Welcome to CCAM's webinar series that continues. Today we have a very special feature with our partner for the last recent few years, Enchaos Interactive. To say and introduce a little bit more, I'm Vic Sivalingam, the president of the Contact Center Association of Malaysia, and I have guests with me, which I'll introduce in later. But first of all, let's get to know a little bit about Enchaos Interactive.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'd just like to give you an introduction to Enchaos. I will have spoken to many of you at the Contact Center CCAM conferences over the past few years, but Enchaos has been in the contact center market for over 40 years now. We're publicly traded and listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and primarily we're focused on contact center solutions. Although we do have other businesses that support video collaboration and content services. We do support carrier solutions for large telcos. We also have other divisions that do public and transport and also some specialized services. The main focus of what we do with our contact center solutions is around Enchaos AI. So Enchaos AI delivers solutions to many of our contact center platforms, and our Enchaos AI tools are available to provide many different offerings to support the businesses that are looking to deliver AI services. These include collaboration, insights and analytics, virtual agents, customer service, knowledge management integration, as well as just making agents' life easier. Vic, I'll hand it over to you to do a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll get into some questions. Oh, you're muted, Vic.
Sorry, folks. To many of us here, Enchaos Interactive is recently better known than it is. And we have come to discover so much of opportunities and so much of capabilities that Malaysian contact centers and CX delivery centers can benefit from. CCAM is absolutely honored, privileged to bring Enchaos Interactive to the Malaysian shores today to talk about solutions, implementations, and success story in this webinar. Unlike where we have one presentation today, we have a little bit of a chat, a very strong chat of actual case studies, some hard knocks and some real success. To do that, we have a very important individual, SWAP Asia, head of call center of SWAP Asia, Mr. Chia Chun Kit. He comes with 30 years experience. Enough to say that he and I probably grew up in the same era, same time, and having 30 years of contact center experience generally falls in line with when the Malaysian contact centers took shape. But Chia has more than that. He has been in telecommunications, satellite TV, insurance, telemarketing and insurance, BPOs, and more recently, supply chain value-added services. Consultancy work as well as setting up call centers has been part of his life. A truly rich experience if you take a look at his profile. He has been a 4PL provider, running 4PL provider for distribution for devices, supply chain and logistics for under SWAP Asia. Interestingly, he set up call centers to what he's doing today to currently lead and run them as well. In-house products, dealer support, logistics support. The list goes on. Chia has done them all. 30 years will tell you all that. But he also has experienced and implemented work that today will benefit all of us in understanding the capabilities that Enchaos Interactive brings to the table. Along with Chia, we have a younger gentleman, the one that is youngest among all three of us, 20 years experience. So you can count the age difference between all of us then. Chris Brooksy comes from Enchaos Interactive, and you would have seen him in the NCCCs and the CX summits, always with a smile, ready to talk to everybody and taking you out for a drink after that if you were in the past two customer experience summit. Chris is one of the most fun-loving person I've seen, constantly coming and showcasing details and opportunities from Enchaos Interactive to all of us here in Malaysia. He has been in senior program roles across multiple verticals and industry. If I spell it out, it'll be everything and everything. So right from transportation, education, financial services, government, everything. Chris has made skills close to him in understanding how an organization functions, how to best satisfy and provide the right solutions, and bringing innovative technologies, including what we have in the last recent years with AI, making contact centers more interactive and useful, and driving greater customer experience. That's what Chris does in terms of building and rolling out these capabilities. So both these gentlemen have got a lot to share, but very importantly, it is tools and capabilities that Chris was sharing earlier that is brought live by opportunity. So I will be asking some questions because I want to learn as well. I think what we have with Chia and Chris here is a unique opportunity that we don't always get. And I just want to quickly say for many years, the contact center for Bright Star Malaysia operation was deployed by an older ZCOM contact center platform. Bright Star is actually the history behind what Swap Asia is today. There were two merger acquisitions and they rolled into one. Today we are called Swap Asia. Chia has seen it all through using previous contact center platform, using Cisco PABX, using traditional where on-premise, and then moving to serve multiple markets. And that was the start, right? Chia, if I recall correctly,
Yes.
that's how you took shape of your business. For those that are unaware, House Interactive purchased Zcom back in 2012, the original business, to become House Interactive Communication Center and re-engineered the solutions to be deployed against newer PABX and UC platforms, such as Microsoft Teams, which many of us get curious by. But very importantly, how do all these complex settings come together? The business separation of Malaysian operations from the ANZ business back in 2020 into Swap Asia meant the executive was forced to make a quick decision to move into a cloud CX solution to support the newly separated entity. That's what took shape in the whole Bright Star to Swap Asia journey. But I think this
Yep.
is something I'll let Chia speak a little bit. After a couple of years on the cloud CX platform, the contract was coming for a renewal, and the business decided to move away from the local cloud CX platform with the guidance of the Enghouse team. The swap team decided to implement Microsoft Teams, which I think Chia will elaborate a little bit more, integrated with the latest generation of in-house contact center solution provided by in-house Interactive. Today, we're going to delve into these decisions behind and how it took place and what is paying dividends now. Because what was a journey is today standing as a success. What was a solution in a complex surrounding is today standing as a success. That's why CCAM is very proud to work with the Edge House Interactive to bring this real life, real case studies to the community so that we can best benefit and learn from them. With that done, I would like to move into some questions and probably some conversations actually. While my questions are all written down and I may be looking down to ask them, I would really like to ask Chia, tell us, set the context for us. To start, could you give us a brief overview of Swap Asia and the role of your contact center? What does your contact center do in supporting your customers across the region so we can understand what and how complex business is sometimes? Chia, please.
Okay. Thank you so much. First and foremost, thank you for having me here and sharing my stories. In a way, it's a bit on the success stories also, to say the least, because of a decision that we made. So anyway, back to the questions that you asked. Swap Asia is actually predominantly a supply chain logistic company. We deal with supply chain, we deal with transporting devices and so on all over nationwide. Now, on top of that, it's called 3PL and 4PL businesses. So then on top of that, we have a value-added services, which we were working with one of the telcos. Um, I can't say the name, okay? So we were working with one of the telcos and we were providing um, value-added services for them in terms of like device protection. If I mention the product name, I'm sure Vic you will know. It's Zerolution. So you know which telco. I can't say it, okay? So basically, we were working with them, and more than 10 years we were doing all these supply chains, the device protections, and everything and so forth. So the call center core business was critical because we need to make sure that customers can contact us. We are able to support customers' questions, customers' queries, And on top of that, like I said, earlier we were supply chain. So we also have dealers that actually work with the telco that we were doing deliveries for them. So we also provided an inbound so-called dealer support for the dealers, for the telcos dealers. So basically, in a nutshell, what we did was covering end to end for that company. And of course, as time progresses, we also have other businesses that we actually expanded to. So, but the core business started from there, 3PL, 4PL, value-added services, dealer supports, and so on, and it grew. It grew since back in 2003, 2004, right up to currently. Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
Chia, I tell you, I salute to you that you keep a careful protection of your client and customer names. We
We
all are
have
not
to.
supposed to. Absolutely wonderful. Uh,
Thank you.
the days of when devices was not really prevalent and available in Malaysia. Then in 2003, 4, 5, I still remember from BlackBerry to subsequently all these smartphones that took shape. Companies like Brightstar at the time, right, and South Asia today, I think would have been those who made the changes for Malaysians. Not easy at all because telecommunications in Malaysia used to do service, dealers used to sell phones. When today, when
Yes.
we get our phones from, and I can mention U Mobile, I can mention Maxis, Subcom DG because I'm mentioning everybody, no client's name, but all today's service providers are heavy into device. Thanks to Brightstar and eventually Swap Asia because you're making seamless experiences come through. So obviously your call center must have done a lot of work, a lot of logistics, a lot of engagement between dealers, service providers, and customers. I
Yes.
feel the pain because I lived 21 years in a telco. So thanks, Chia, for that.
No problem.
But
Thank you.
obviously, all
Uh,
these challenges that happens in the marketplace must come back to mean something to you. The challenges and maybe things that you have to do and the challenges that you have to face. I thought I would better get a little bit of a nice, good understanding of that early in this
well,
conversation.
the challenge, to be honest, the challenge comes from the telecommunication channel. You need to have a first of all a solid base of communication channel. You cannot just have the old primitive method of a call center where they pick up the phone and then just with a headset and say hello and that's it. You need to make sure that the connectivity from the customers to the company or to the team, my team, in a way it is seamless. They can contact them. Then in a point that if let's say the customers cannot get through, there's other options available for them to reach out to us. Now that is customers from the value-added services. From the dealer, I mean, you were in the telco business, most of the dealers are never, they were never the type that sit down and says, can we have a cup of coffee and let's talk about business? No, they always pick up and say, hey, I want my stock, kind of thing. So everything is fast. So my dealer team support team, they build a relationship through the communications tools that we have, and they, in a way they became online friends with the dealers. So um, my team, when the dealer calls, when they listen to the voice, they'll know like, hey, you are from dealer ABC. I know what you want. So that is the kind of level of interactions that my team will have with the dealers. On the customer side, because the amount of calls coming in, the amount of calls that we support throughout all this time, when a customer call and say, hey, I've got this problem, I've got a problem, my team will know what is going to be next. My team will be able to advise what's next. So to make sure that the call center jive in unison is from the customers to us, that is communication tool, and the system that supports it. So all of this has to work in what we call in unison. You cannot have one over the others. So that's why throughout the years, I think you will know that we were working with Maxis for so long. Sorry, I shouldn't say the customer's name, but it just pops up. But we were working with them for
You
so
can
long.
blame it on me. Yeah,
It came out very smoothly because all the time, because we were doing this almost more than 12 years with them.
I understand.
We deal with the problems, we deal with the telcos team, we collaborated with them, and then of course we worked in a line whereby if the customers reach out to the telco for a problem that's related to our product, so that telco's team will contact us. So again, we need communications. We need to make sure that we do not have a drop call. We do not have calls that cannot get through and so on. And the most important thing is at the end of the month, there has to be a reporting format that we can see a trend. We can see where the calls coming in, where the certain calls peak at certain times, and so on and so forth. So if you look at throughout the years for, let's say, value-added services and so on for device protection, there's two trends that always appears. Customers will call either after brunch time if there is a problem. If let's say they drop the phone, so they'll call you after brunch time, and to make sure that they'll try and reach you before lunch, so that they can close the claim submission and have the device sent to them by the next day. And another trend is the calls will pick up after a holiday because people drop their phones, people do sometimes amazing things with their phones during the holiday season. So those are,
And the weekends as well, right?
weekends. Usually by Monday it will pick up. Just to share, we have customers that call us that actually took the phone for a dive, literally for a dive. They put it in a Ziploc bag, hoping that nothing will happen. But they dive with the phone, and they call us after the holiday. They come back. And they say, oh, water has entered, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, yeah, fine, we will do whatever we can. So that's why communication, in a way, is very, very important for the customers to reach us, for us to reach within our internal customers, the delivery team, the warehouse team, and so on. And also to make sure that we send the devices back to the customers ASAP. So that has been something that we have been doing over the years.
The complexity comes out clear, Chair, if I can just step in. And what's quite interesting about what I'm hearing is, and of course I walked down memory lane as well as you were speaking, the very sophisticated telcos run by corporates to a very rough, tough neighborhood run by the dealers, the marketplace, the trade, and a consumer base that's all of Malaysia, right, in different varieties, say size, shape, whatever not. Must have been
Mm,
quite, and of course, a device that is highly valued and
yes,
expensive on part, and of course,
yes,
containing so many personal things. I can imagine
correct.
whether it's device protection or logistics, I can imagine the demand that comes to your business. Before I go into the contact center and the kind of technology and the capabilities you're building, I want to call Christine a little bit to, bring a bit of industry perspective of what business like what Chia has can bring to demand of Enghouse in bringing the best of solutions. Just an industry perspective before we go into the specifics, Chris, if you don't mind.
Definitely, definitely. So, Char and I have actually been working together for probably about 5 or 6 years. Because
Mm,
Bench House used to manage the ZCOM solution, and I think through COVID they had to make a very rash decision to move to a contact center. And also with that business split meant they had to move off the existing ZCOM platform. So when it was time to negotiate the contract for swap with their cloud provider, Chair came to myself and said, "What can we do to make the business resilient?" Now, probably the first question I asked them was, "How are you communicating internally?" They had the cloud telephony platform, but they also had Microsoft Teams, and we recognised that Teams pretty much was going to be the, if you like, the backbone of providing a capability that meant, number one, that all of the users, if they were telephony enabled, could actually have, as well as a desk phone if they wanted it, software on their laptop, software on their mobile phones that meant that their telephone number, wherever they were around the world, could come with them. Second was around the idea that we have a contact center, and it is pretty much the same ZCOM contact center that the guys were familiar with from using it for the 10 years previous, that we could actually bolt that into the side of Microsoft Teams and extend that Teams capability. So it gave SWAP that luxury that their telephony became flexible, but also the contact center became flexible as well. So it meant that the staff in the contact center had their laptop. That laptop was their device and their agent terminal for actually answering calls that came into that contact center. Wherever that laptop was, they were actually able to work. And this became the sort of, if you like, the mainstay for the continuity solution that served its purpose. And I'll let Chia talk about why it was such a good decision to make. But yeah, it formed teams, and the Enghouse contact center meant the business could survive any sort of situation, really. So
Fantastic. Chris, just a little bit of an Enghouse and the play in the industry. Enghouse, I know, has been evolving through a lot of mergers, integrations. You have many previous legacy solutions that has come to you, just like what Brightstar would have had with CCAM. When you met Chia, you obviously were dealing with legacy, moving and transitioning. So there was a transformation piece that had to happen with the right thinking and the right demands, right? So in-house, I think beyond Brightstar to SWAP Asia, you would have always been dealing with giving transformation, giving the latest and the best to what is already a legacy. So you got untie knots and build new capabilities of the modern world in the contact center.
Yep.
Just want to tell us a little about those little demands and challenges that comes to you.
So we're very flexible in the way we operate. We're not a vendor that tries to push companies into a particular direction. We'll work out what is the best option for them to move forward with their technology. So we've got a lot of customers that have had on-prem PABXs and on-prem contact centers and want to maintain those well into the future. We're happy to do that. We've got customers in particular in places like Taiwan that work in the semiconductor industry, where there are strict security and privacy requirements around the technology they deploy. And one customer in particular is using the same contact center engine that SWAP are using, but they've actually changed out their telephony platform 5 times in the past 15 years. Actually, it's probably about 18 years now, and we're about to migrate to a 6th without actually changing the contact center engine. So they've gone from OCE to Microsoft Link to Skype for Business to NEC to an Asterisk solution, all while maintaining the same contact center engine in behind that. So essentially, whilst some vendors will say, "Hey, cloud is be all and end all," we actually see it from the other perspective, where customer knows best. They've got their way of operating. They know the best way to deliver their services to their customers. So we'll guide based on that information to what is an appropriate solution for their business, not what is the best solution for the vendor. So it's all about understanding the customer's requirements, understanding how that business operates, putting a bit of forward thinking in there, just to look at what the business is going to transition and move to in the future, and whether they're going to expand, what sort of services they'll need, and then we'll fit an appropriate solution. We can deliver on-prem, we can deliver hybrid, we can deliver cloud, we can deliver a multitude of different products in our portfolio, but it comes down to delivering what is best for the customer. And that's pretty much our mandate for our business and the way we work with our partners and our customers in the region.
That's lovely, Chris. And talking to you over this recent years, it gives me a feel that you work very closely with your customers or clients to make sure that happens, and not just force things onto them. Being a practitioner myself, I just hit the letter, being just thrown in. This is the latest, this is the best versus what is right for me and my own customers. Chia, obviously, when 5 years ago, when you had to lock into Enghouse from the previous partnership, which I think rolled over. So it was a partnership that came to you. What was happening at that point in time? You only just helped me connect the dots in your early days, moving from the ZCOM to an Enghouse and dealing with different options that's in front of you. What was in your thinking? What was in your mind, and what were you dealing with?
Okay. I think to start off from the very beginning, when we were still Brightstar, we were using, because Brightstar was a group, so we were using ZCOM. And then when the company then moved from Brightstar to SWAP, we had a change of a system, so they dropped ZCOM. But This is just pre-COVID and post-COVID period of time. That's where we realized that the system was slightly a little bit not what we wanted in our business. It was not robust and stuff. And then when we connect back with Chris, we realized that the versions that we had when we were in the Bright Star and the version that now we wanted, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's like 12, 13 versions difference. So that to me that signals something. Now, a lot of people from one angle will say, oh, probably the system is bad. That's why they had so much problem. They had to do a lot of patches. But for me, it's different because for me, the way I looked at it is you have 12 versions. You have upgraded 12 versions. 12 versions includes, I'm very sure, the the business trends, the current market needs or the operations need. And then as the system, because the system is not built to last forever, it always grow towards the business and stuff or whatever the market trend will be. So 12 versions within that few years gave me the impression that they were fixing whatever problems that they had. They were they were elevating their system to meet with the requirements. And I realized that there was a lot of systems that they were built from that version when Chris was explaining to me. It was a lot of potential growth that gives me the impression that this system helps me build the call center in the future. What we were looking at, what we learned from the COVID time was number one, we need to be remote. Should anything happen again, we should not be in office. Example, we should be working from home. We should be connected. We should be able to do it. And that system gave us the first confidence to say, okay, we can work out of the office. And second thing is the conventional thinking. Everything has to be on site, on site, on site. But then again, later on from the system, we realized we can build it in clouds. We can build it off-site. So if the building built that back then, if the building burns down, the the source of the system is still away, which happens three months back, 1 week before Chinese New Year this year. So I won't say reality became the truth, but it actually helps to say that okay, we were building for these things in case it happened. Not that we wish for it to happen, but it happened. So when it happened, we knew there's a lot of people that runs a business will call this BCP plan, business continuity plan. What happened if this strikes? What will you do it? My take was that if something happens on site, the snap on the finger, we can still continue business. So that's why being remote, being making sure that the system was able to accommodate, like what he says earlier, or like what Chris, it's not what the vendors can sell you, it's what the business needs. So it's more of the solution accommodating to the business needs. So we need to make sure that it's robust. We make sure that it's remote. And of course, when you do remote, you need to have an eye, you need to have control on the performance, on the SLA, on the people. I mean, let's be honest, people can slack, people can say work from home. Sometimes, they put very typical call center a trick. They will just say, I'm going for a break. They put a break, they go away. So the system picks up all these things and we can question. The old system doesn't do it, doesn't allow us, but here uh, working remote, we are able to monitor, we're able to see. So in a way, there's an eyes and ears. So the performance wise is it doesn't get jeopardized. Working away from the office, we're still delivering the results. As of now, we are still doing it. So that gives us the perspective when we spoke to Chris. That is the direction we wanted, and back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. That's where we decided this is the best platform to use.
Wow. Yeah. From COVID to the recent fires, you've stayed resilient, huh, in the eyes of remote and robust. So there's
We have
quite a
to.
lot going on here.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. I mean, it's been absolutely impressive what the last 6 years has been in the industry. Resilience is surely one of it. But
Yep.
what your approach to business telephony and communications? Why did moving to Microsoft Voice and Chat and in-house contact center solution make sense at the time around? Could you recall a little
Um,
bit and share with us the specifics on this?
Partly was also the CIO back then. He was he was a very strong supporter of Microsoft. So he had Microsoft connections and stuff and so on. So we use that way when Chris proposed a Microsoft Teams. naturally that's the best way to go, because we were looking at regional, we were looking at Singapore, we were looking at Thailand. So if the teams in Thailand has a Microsoft Teams license, they can be connected to the system. The system sits in Malaysia. We don't have to build. The old style of doing it is you got to set a server in Singapore, and then you got to put a server in Malaysia. You got to have a trunk line or landline and so on. If the line gets disconnected and so on, whole system gets shut down. But when you have Teams, it's all about just your connectivity. That's it, done. You can do it,
Sitting on the
right, Chris?
in-house contact
Mm,
center solutions gives greater strength. What did you pick up from that relationship with Chris and in-house? And true enough, so some of us, we say, okay, we're all in Microsoft, so we got to go Microsoft. But how did it all
mm.
connect the dots
I think when
with
we
the
looked at it, one of the other thing was like what Chris mentioned just now. The laptop will be the workhorse. The laptop will be the working what they call platform for the agents. All they need is just a laptop. But back in those days, you need to have a phone. You need to have connectivity to the phone and stuff and so on. Everything is soft phone through the laptop. They just put on the headset. That's it. You can work. So make it easier for the agent. They don't have to stress. Make it easier for the company because they don't have to spend a lot. But Microsoft Teams allow communications region-wise. I mean, I'm sure certain regions when you work outside of Malaysia, there are certain restrictions and stuff. So, but with the Microsoft, I think it's very easy for us to work. I think we did it for Singapore, and we are also planning to do it for Thailand.
wow? So you're
Yeah.
just expanding the whole cover. But at this time, I just wanted to ask Chris to add on a little bit. What was the highlight when this was happening to what Chia just said? The company wanted Microsoft, yeah, they were all over on an in-house solution. What was your highlight moment during this whole implementation?
For us, it was almost business as vindication of the decision that Swap had made, because we'd gone through the education process of enabling that Teams contact center, which when you've got Teams users on the back end, it means you can pretty much connect your front office or the front of house through the contact center with the staff and the teams that work in the back end. And for Cheer and the Swap guys, it's their warehouse, it's a lot of the admin staff. So essentially, what was in a lot of organizations maybe a disparate contact center to what is the rest of the business, kind of Teams puts an umbrella over everything, where the contact center is just an extension of the greater business. But in terms of the solution we put forward, we'd actually obviously built the solution out into Oracle Cloud and the teams sitting in Azure. We'd connected the telco services with Telecom Malaysia through an SBC to bring that call into Teams. We just had to license up the Teams endpoints for a public number, which was a reasonably cheap exercise. First big surprise for me was when Chia said we want to bring on Singapore as an operation. So for us, that was just a simple matter of rolling out extra Teams clients, bringing in a termination from a local Singapore telco into the SBC. But the big vindication was when the fire happened in the office. It sort of I got a call from my engineer who had helped do Chia and the team with the transition. But the fact that Chia rang me the next day on what had happened on the Sunday, Chia, yeah,
Yep.
you spoke to me on Monday, and my first question to you is everything working? And you've gone, yeah, we just fired up the laptops at people's homes. The staff continued working. The customers and the partners of ours didn't know there was any downtime or any issues with the business as a whole. So for all intents and purposes, the solution we proposed pretty much did as we'd promised. And for any salesperson selling a contact center and selling a technology, that's all the vindication we need. It's sort of, we sold what was on the box, what was inside the
Yep.
box worked.
Yep. I mean, I don't want to sound bad when I say this, but when the fire happened on Sunday, all the bosses had a call on the Sunday evening to assess how bad was the situation. So apparently, The rest of the department say they can work from home, blah blah blah, and so on. But the question pops to me, as in, what about the call center? My answer to them was no impact. Tomorrow, 9 sharp, we will be working just as it is. Only difference is we won't be in the office. And we have been doing that since that day until today. We're working from home, 9 sharp, we are there to support the customers until 6, 7 days a week. So there's no impact. In the eyes of the customer, it doesn't matter because we're still responding to the customer's questions. So no, I can probably say it was zero impact, zero downtime impact.
Well played, Chiap. As I just recall your words again, it's stuck in my mind. Robust, remote, and control, given
Yep.
by the tools and capabilities you have. Fantastic.
Mm.
Immediately after the implementation, I just want to go back a little bit because I think sometimes we all learn a lot from the every good thing. There's a little bit of hard knocks. What was that
Yep.
immediate good and bad that you saw during the implementation? And obviously, it's landed very well. Everything was fixed nicely, but maybe because people out there want to pick up some lookout points, if I can call it that. Immediately after the implementation, just before COVID, I think once you took on the Edge House and Microsoft Teams, the whole work around it. What did your people on the ground immediately see? What they experience?
Okay. Um, so as not to say bad about the old system, but it's just that the first reaction I got from my agent was like, thank God, because they don't have any drop calls, they don't have any uh while talking to the customers, the system just went, they just cut off the customers, you know. Um, and that problem, when we installed the new solution for Menghouse, the EICC, um, that drop call, that lines that cut, it was immediately, we never faced it anymore after we installed it. The first week itself, the agent came in and says no problem. They were very they were happy because the customer didn't drop the call, because I'm sure you know, if the customers drop the call, they call back the second time and it goes through. They are never nice. The customer were never nice because the first thing in the impression is why you cut my call, right? And then when the agents try to explain, no, we didn't. No customer will say, yeah, you're right. The customers always have the back of mind that you try to cut my call because I'm probably asked too much questions and so on. But the first week itself, agents' response was like no drop calls, no while talking the lines just dropped off. But of course, the system has its what they call hiccups along the way. But these hiccups were not, I won't say it didn't impact. It's not a very like life or death kind of situation. We had scenarios where we can hear a bit of echo during the calls. Then we fine tune it. I mean, the engineers from in-house together with the local support, they fine tune it. We don't have that problems anymore. The, like I said, the most critical ones was the drop calls. I can honestly say once we installed that EICC system until now, we never had that problems anymore. And the best part was the agents themselves were happy. The agents were happy there's no drop call. The agents were happy that the system was easy to use, comparatively to the old system. To log in to get the system so on, it's a bit more hassle. So this system was straightforward, and then it's all logged on. All they need to do is just key in their username and password, and they're good to go. And the only hassle is they say, okay, now whatever activities they do during the day, they take a break, or they need to put it on hold and so on, it's all tracked. So so they are being watched in a way, but in a nice way, in a nice way.
As long as you manage the communications and set the expectation. You're very
Yeah,
fortunate, Chia,
yeah,
for to have gone through a migration, come out of that hard, difficult moments that many go through, and come out looking good on the other side. It's not easy. I've since and spoken to so many contact center customer service leaders who invest time, but
mm,
nevertheless, first have to deal with the dip before the rise. And I'm sure yours was very different because you chose well. I think the decisions that you all have made and in your migration and implementation came back to help you. Well
yep.
done. But I'd like to, at this point, just ask Chris, Now, I know Enchao, I mean, even myself in Malaysia, it took time before I got to know Enchao, even been in the industry, because maybe you're not always very present in Malaysia, but it is such a highly regarded solution, highly regarded capability. And going by what Cha has said, obviously, many things have worked when people give it a try, to connect with you, Chris, when you are here, to connect with Enchao's. But tell us a little bit about the whole background, the engine, the architecture, things that make it work. Why are you so different? Why can you bring greater flexibility, agility, robust and remote and controlled environment that makes a contact center excel? Why is Eng House built the way it is, and what is making you successful now?
So pretty much the EICC solution that Swap deployed has that background of ZCOM. So the ZCOM platform, if anyone has deployed an NEC solution since about 1996, would have known the ZCOM product. So it has pedigree. So the engine that sits inside of EICC is robust. It's designed to scale, and it's designed to be completely resilient. The fact that we're actually able to take that engine and bolt it into the side of Microsoft Teams, for us, is just another PABX. So traditionally, we would normally connect in the days of on-prem contact centers. We'd hook into an Avaya, we'd hook into an NEC, we'd hook into a Cisco system. More recently, as I said, we recognise that these cloud UC solutions are becoming more prevalent in the market. So probably the key thing with our solution and then the client that the agents sit on, it sits in Microsoft Teams. So from that perspective, it means that once the agent has Microsoft Teams launched, they've got the client for EICC launch within Microsoft Teams. So the EICC engine just becomes an extension of Microsoft Teams. And this becomes really important when we start talking, as I mentioned previously, that integration of front office and back of house, because that's really where the power of a contact center is. I've seen many a contact center solution deployed from the cloud where there's still an on-premise PABX and people with handsets. And typically it's either a call, a landline call to actually get into the contact center to speak to an agent, or they're completely disparate altogether. So from an architectural standpoint, the idea of leveraging what is the most common unified communications platform as that engine to provide the telephony for the contact center just makes sense. And for a Malaysian market, it's a simple matter of, if there's an SBC in the organization, if there's trunking already going into that SBC, it's just a simple matter of adding licenses into Microsoft Teams, and we can just bolt our contact center engine into the side of it. And it just becomes one seamless solution. So probably the biggest value add is if an organization has multiple offices scattered through Malaysia or through the region or internationally, using that telephony platform that Microsoft provides as an internal comms and voice engine, but adding the contact center on top of that, it just makes sense. It's a rationalization of cost. The other thing is, because we're not a cloud offering, we're a hybrid solution. We don't have that ongoing expensive annualized license cost that sometimes comes with these platforms. So the guys at Swap actually purchase this as an outright purchase and then pay annual maintenance. So whilst the solution's only been in now for just on a year, I see this solution still being there in about 5 to 7 years' time, if not longer, where they're only paying annual maintenance. They haven't got that ongoing cost of moves, adds, changes, of annual subscriptions that really keep on going up year after year after year. So the long-term value proposition for such a solution just makes a whole load more sense over a lot of the cloud's offerings that are out there at the moment.
Fantastic. Chris, if you can just summarize in one line statement, why Eng House Interactive for your contact resilience in your contact center, if I can call it that?
We give the customer the choice. Pretty much. It's the customer's decision to put the best solution in. We'll advise, we'll provide a range of options, but it's the customer's decision to choose the best solution, not the vendor's.
Lovely. And just like that, I would also like to close out with Chia after this with some advice for his peers, people who are running contact centers, people who may not have been as fortunate in some of the micro transformation work or the innovation, but those who are seeking help as the whole world shifts into transition into the new modern AI-led storm,
Mm.
if I can call it. Today's title says Building a Resilient Contact Center in Malaysia. And we spoke about a real case study, a satisfied client who has worked to install to build a resilient one himself. Chia, quickly in what, maybe 2 to 3 sentences, can you share a good piece of advice to the audience who are watching here, as well as the CCAM, Contact Center Association of Malaysia's members and community? Uh, just a quick advice and thought leadership from you.
Okay, I think the first thing they need to do is remove the mindset that a call center needs to be operating in a very primitive model. You need to opt for a different set of models, like in this case, working from home, working away from the sites, working away from a dedicated location, hybrid, so to speak. They need to think that way. And the other thing is they need to invest in technology, because without technology, none of this will work. So that's the mindset they need to change. But don't have and do not have the perception that call center is just answer call only lah, like the Malaysian standard. They need to away from that, because the call center is the face, is the people that will create the what they call the impressions with the customers for the company. So if they have got lousy technologies, they've got primitive technologies, you're sending a different signal to the customers. You want to sell a world-class product, but you have a uh, primitive structures at the back. It doesn't jive. It's just like someone selling you a Jaguar car, but when you open it up, it's probably a Kanchala engine. That's not the way. So the mindset, you need to shift away from a primitive business model. You need to shift towards hybrid. Everybody talks about hybrid. Everybody talks about AI, but to me, behind the scene, it's technologies. You need to invest in it. How much you need to invest in technology will depend on how big is your business scale and so on. Small scales will have small scales kind of setup, but technology is the key to move forward. Yep.
Very much. Chia, thank you very much. Chris, you want to add on anything before I close out?
Probably the only thing is think about the solution that needs to be put in place. Look at different options. I love cloud. Cloud has its places, but it's not always the best solution. Also, look at the other technologies that are available in the organization. Sometimes it's also cheaper to just do a little further investment on what is already there and add to existing capability that's within the business without having to go and sort of put something brand new in place. And that's essentially what the guys at Swap did. They looked at what they were already using, added value to that, and then put the contact center on as just an extension. So keep it simple, really.
Absolutely. Chia, fantastic advice about progressing thinking technology to enable the best
You're
when your
welcome.
contact center excel. Chris, obviously, Inch House helps kids things simple, helps clients make their own choices, brings the best of technology to bear. CCM is very proud to listen to this story and share with our members today. Swap Asia is doing a wonderful job out there, and Inch House Interactive has been a wonderful partner, and we've been very proud and pleased and privileged to bring Hinge House into Malaysia and continuously work with Hinge House to do more. I think the whole idea is organizations are in huge transformation, that phase of transformation, one part championed by AI, but also the need of contact centers, not just to be a customer experience delivery center, but also to be a revenue generation and a business contributor is become more important now than ever before. Investing in people is right, but making sure the right technology enables you to get there is so critical. At CCM, we really want to make sure that the global best solutions comes to you as we one part brought a real case study and experience to showcase to you. Let's build with purpose. Contact Center Association of Malaysia, our partners like Ench House, our friends here from Swap Asia, are here to continuously share good case studies, practices, as well as the latest and the best in technology solutions. If there, I don't know whether we have time for questions, but you can put, if you have any questions, you can pop them into the chat, or maybe email them to CCAM or Enchouse as well. Would we have time for questions? Chris, Tony?
If there's questions there, yeah, definitely. Love to answer them.
This webinar will also be recorded and made available on the CCAM website directly for those who have missed the opportunity this afternoon. And we had a quite number of good registrations. We hope the best case studies spread across Malaysia, the best solutions like Enchouse will come to you. I don't see questions here, but if you have questions, you can also write to the CCAM Secretariat or to the registration point that you registered in for this. If none, I'd like to close this out with a huge thank you to Chia and Chris for sharing generously in what you've gone through, what you have done, and how you're bringing the best to bear in an industry that's fast progressing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure
for having me. Yep.
And thanks to the CCAM team. Much appreciated.